Now we're going to look at the structure of the spine or the vertebrae. Now, if you're looking at the spine from a lateral aspect, now a lateral aspect is viewing it from the side. If you're looking at it from a lateral aspect, you can clearly see that the spine has 4 curves. You have 2 convex and 2 concave. Now, when you're born, you're just rounded in a C shape. And as you develop, as a baby develops, you develop your primary curves, which are your thoracic and your sacral curves. So your thoracic curve is here and your sacral curve is here. Now, as a baby learns to hold its head up and later on it learns to sit up, stand and walk, you develop your cervical and your lumbar curves. So your 4 curves in total are your cervical, your thoracic, your lumbar and your sacral. Now we're going to break down the vertebrae in a little bit more detail. Your spinal column is comprised of 33 vertebrae. 26 are actually movable joints and the remainder are fused or fixed. So we'll look at the top ones first. These are your cervical, your top 7. So C1 to C7 are your cervical vertebrae. Now your C1 and your C2 at the top are the only 2 that are actually given a name, and those are sometimes referred to as Atlas and Axis. Atlas being the centre or the top of the world. That's from Greek mythology. If you're moving on down to your thoracic, you have 12 thoracic vertebrae in total. Now your thoracic vertebrae connect to your ribs via ligaments and muscles, and that's what actually forms your rib cage or your thoracic cage. Your cervical or cervical are the smallest vertebrae, moving down to your 12 thoracic, on down to your 5 lumbar. Your 5 lumbar are the largest altogether in your vertebrae, and the reason that they are your largest vertebrae is because they're responsible for supporting and stabilizing the upper body. Down below your 5 lumbar, you have your 5 sacral and 4 coccygeal. Now when you were born, your 5 sacral and your 4 coccygeal are separate, but by the time you reach adulthood, they are actually fused together to join all together. Now your coccyx at the bottom, in prehistoric or in earlier times, we would have had a tailbone, but because we don't need it anymore, we've disabled that and we now just have our coccyx. So with regard to the vertebrae and the spine, there's a couple of things that we need to remember, and that is that the greatest ranges of movement occur in the cervical and the lumbar region of the spine. So this is where you get more movement. You have a lesser movement here. Alright, now have you ever heard of anybody talking about neutral spine? When you go into the gym, you're going to be telling people all the time to keep their spine neutral. So neutral spine basically is your optimal spinal position, and what that means is that you have a slight lordosis in your lower back, just a slight arch, and it's the best position for you to do lifting or deadlifting techniques. So optimal spine or neutral spine is what you're constantly trying to reinforce when you're in the gym.